Welcome to BioBiz Buzz, where we explore the cutting-edge innovations that are transforming the biotech, pharma, and medtech industries. I'm your host, Mike Ward, and I'm the Global Head of Life Sciences and Healthcare Thought Leadership at Clarivate, which is a multinational provider of data, insights, and intelligence that help healthcare companies actually accelerate their innovation. In this episode, we're going to be diving into one of the most pressing challenges that faces the pharmaceutical industry, the excruciatingly slow and costly process of cancer drug development. By 2040, the World Health Organization predicts that 1 in 2 people will be diagnosed with cancer in their lifetime. And yet, traditional drug development takes decades, costs billions of dollars, and often fails to actually deliver effective treatments to the patients that actually and desperately need them. The pharmaceutical industry is trapped in a cycle where developing next-generation biotherapeutics requires around maybe 500 employees, takes 3 years or more, costs hundreds of millions and potentially up to $2.5 billion at some estimates. And yet success rates are frustratingly low. So what if I told you that there's a Swiss-German biotech company that's completely rewriting these rules, a company that's reducing drug development times from 3 years to just 12 months, cutting workforce requirements from 500 to maybe fewer than 10 people, and testing 25,000 drug candidates in parallel rather than the traditional 10 to 100. With that in mind, I'm pleased to be joined by Dr. Matthias Wiedenfels, who is the CEO of BioCopy. This is the company that's leveraging artificial intelligence and automation to transform cancer drug discovery. With his impressive track record as a former CEO of Stada and actually more than 20 years experience in the pharmaceutical industry, Matthias is now pioneering an approach that could actually fundamentally change how we fight cancer. So if you're curious about how artificial intelligence is revolutionizing drug discovery, why traditional pharma R&D is broken, and what the future actually holds for cancer treatment, well, this episode is essential listening. So let's explore how BioCopy is turning the decade-long marathon into particularly a fast sprint when it comes to drug development. So Matthias, welcome to BioBiz Buzz, and let's start with the fundamentals. What exactly is broken in today's pharmaceutical industry that convinced you to join BioCopy?
Oh, that's a good question. Thank you for having me, Mike. Having spent over 20 years in pharma and also biotech, including my time leading Stada, I have witnessed firsthand the fundamental inefficiencies plaguing drug development. The traditional approach is simply unsustainable. We are looking at development timelines that can span decades, costs that have spiraled into billions, and success rates that are unacceptably low. And the real tragedy is that while we are trapped in these lengthy processes, cancer continues to claim 10 million lives annually, and that's just mortality. Morbidity is a different story. So the potential for developing novel, more powerful and safer biotherapeutics is exhausted with conventional methods. We need a complete paradigm shift, and that's exactly what BioCopy represents.
Okay, paradigm shifts. Yeah, that's one of those phrases that we hear a lot. Can you sort of explain how BioCopy's approach is fundamentally differing from the sort of the traditional drug discovery that we're familiar with?
Yes, and we've built what I call the magic bullet, a unique AI-powered end-to-end automated development platform. Instead of the traditional semi-manual iterative process that tests maybe 10 to 100 drug candidates, our platform can analyze 25,000 candidates in parallel. We are not just incrementally improving the old system, we are completely reimagining it. Our approach combines 2 revolutionary technologies. On the one hand, there's our proprietary Validate precision screening platform, and on the other hand, we've got an automated laboratory system. Now, Validate can characterize about 5,000 protein binding interactions simultaneously in just one cycle, while our automated lab mimics industrial drug production processes right from the start.
Okay, let's talk about Validate. To me, that sounds a little bit like science fiction. So how does it work? What's the process?
Well, that's very technical. Now, but validate is a microarray technology with a proprietary label-free detection system. We call it SCORE. That stands for single color reflectometry, which functions based on the physics of light wavelength shifts and caused by molecular binding events. Think of it like the physics of a soap bubble. When molecular binding occurs, it changes the thickness of the surface layer, which shifts the wavelength of light we observe. And what makes this revolutionary is that we can screen thousands of peptide HLA complexes on a thumbnail-sized surface, delivering highly accurate, time-resolved kinetic datasets. And this allows us to identify and characterize the efficacy and the safety of drug candidates in days rather than in months. And the breakthrough speed and unprecedented density of data processed gives us a decisive competitive advantage.
So, yeah, you mentioned physics there. I recall when I was first applying to do biochemistry at university, in one of the universities that I applied for, it was taught between the biology department and the chemistry department. And I was being interviewed by the professors of both departments. And they asked me in biochemistry, what did I think was most important, biology or chemistry? And of course, I answered physics. And actually, from what you're saying there, it sounds that I was probably way ahead of my time. But just to come back to one of the things that you mentioned there is these PHLA complexes, peptide HLA complexes. You say you're focusing on them. Can you sort of explain why these are important?
Yes, absolutely. And they are, because, this is where we are really changing the game. About 75% of all potential cancer markers are hidden beneath the cell surface. That's what we call intracellular targets. And these represent a virtually untapped treasure trove for drug development. And the key advantage here is precision and safety. Current biotherapeutics often bind to surface markers that are also present on healthy cells. And that leads to severe side effects. Now, our focus on intracellular targets allows much more precise cancer cell targeting with significantly lower risk of damaging normal cells. We are essentially giving the immune system a GPS system to find and eliminate cancer cells while leaving healthy tissue untouched.
Right. Wow. So there's quite a lot to take in there. So are you saying that these PHLA complexes will allow you to identify more cancers than can be done at the moment? And are they specific for certain cancers?
Well, in general, PHLA complexes are broadly cancer agnostic. They don't just allow identification of more cancers. They fundamentally change the game, as I have said, by accessing the hidden 75% of cancer markers that current methods miss, by providing cancer type specific signatures for precise diagnosis, and by offering safer therapeutic targets with minimal healthy tissue cross-reactivity, while enabling earlier detection through highly sensitive screening methods. And this is why our focus is PHLA complexes through the Validate platform. It represents such a significant advancement in cancer detection and treatment development. It's not just an incremental improvement, it's access to an entirely new dimension of cancer biology that has been largely untapped until now.
Okay, let's explore how BioCopy is now being able to do this. You recently raised 8 million euros and also acquired a company called Perspix Biotech. How do these moves fit into your broader strategy?
Well, the acquisition of Perspix was before the fundraising, and this was actually my first major strategic move as a CEO of BioCopy. It perfectly illustrates our integration philosophy. Perspix brought to the table their robotics platform, the automated AI-driven system that combines artificial intelligence with robotics for development of multispecific biotherapeutics. And by integrating Perspix end-to-end optimization capabilities with BioCopy's precision screening expertise, I believe that we have created a truly innovative platform that sets BioCopy apart in the market. We are not just acquiring companies, we are building an ecosystem where every component amplifies the others. The funding will primarily establish our ultra-high throughput automated laboratory. And this investment allows us to industrialize our process and prove that our approach can consistently deliver superior results at unprecedented speed.
Okay, so artificial intelligence, we're hearing a lot about it. There are plenty of companies that now claim that they're using AI for drug discovery. How, and again, you talked about creating an ecosystem, which is both, I suppose, an internal ecosystem, but also you plan to participate in the external ecosystem. So, how do you sort of see BioCopy fitting into that broader, highly competitive landscape?
Well, companies may or may not use AI. AI is all about data. And pharma companies should not treat AI just as a bolt-on solution to existing processes. The real transformation comes from reimagining the entire approach from the ground up. AI requires high quality, comprehensive, and I shall add, experimental data. And systems that generate the data consistently must be built. This isn't just about technology, it's about changing the organizational culture and processes. The companies that succeed will be those that embrace fundamental change, not just technological upgrades. And what differentiates us is our focus on the entire end to end process, specifically targeting the most challenging aspect of cancer drug development, the PHLA target class. While others are applying AI to various stages of drug discovery, we've built an integrated platform that addresses the complete pipeline from target identification to industrial scale production readiness. So, our competitive advantage lies in our specialized expertise in precision screening of cancer targets and our ability to generate massive high quality data sets that are currently unmatched in the industry. And this data density is essential for effective AI implementation. You can't have artificial intelligence without comprehensive, high quality data.
At the moment, your focus is on cancer. I'm just wondering, can you sort of envisage the processes that you have being used in other therapeutic areas? I mean, what is the sort of the long-term vision for BioCopy?
That's a very good question, although our immediate focus is absolutely revolutionizing cancer treatment, specifically targeting lung cancer, bladder cancer, ovarian cancers, and also breast cancers. However, our longer term, if you ask me, is to expand beyond oncology, to develop maybe next generation biotherapeutics for immunological or neurological disorders. We are not just building a company. We are creating a new foundation for the pharmaceutical industry to produce biotherapeutics with unprecedented therapeutic impact. Our vision is to establish a model where effective and safe drugs can be developed rapidly and cost effectively, making advanced treatments accessible for patients worldwide.
So, what opportunities do you actually see this creating for global biopharma companies?
We are looking at a fundamental transformation of the industry's economics. By reducing development timelines from years to months and dramatically cutting costs, we are making drug development accessible to a broader range of organizations. And this democratization could accelerate innovation across the entire sector. For established pharma companies, our platform offers a way to dramatically improve their R&D efficiency and success rates. And for smaller biotechs, we are potentially eliminating the traditional barriers to entry. But most importantly for me, for patients, we are shortening the time between scientific discovery and life-saving treatments.
Right. I mean, again, doing that process and I guess, accelerating the innovation, the pharma industry is clearly highly regulated. And if one sort of looks at all the talk that sort of governments and regulatory agencies are talking about artificial intelligence, I'm kind of getting the sort of senses that there's still a huge amount of catch up. So how do you ensure not only that you are achieving regulatory compliance while moving at an accelerated pace, but also almost like future proofing what might be regulatory compliance?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, regulatory compliance is crucial also for us. Speed without safety is worthless. However, we are very good at it. This is one of our unique selling propositions: safety, less toxicity. So, our automated lab is designed to mimic industrial production processes from the very beginning. And this also means we are building in regulatory compliance and commercial viability, by the way, from day one, not as an afterthought. Our extensive safety screening using Validate actually provides regulators with more comprehensive data than traditional approaches, and I trust they appreciate that. We can demonstrate safety profiles across thousands of potential targets simultaneously, giving regulators unprecedented insight into our drug candidates' behavior. And by the way, I may add that we don't even need the animal studies because PHLA complexes are inexistent in animals.
Right. I mean, that's very interesting. And again, we can sort of see some of the regulators are actually sort of, moving to that new, I guess, sort of drug discovery paradigm anyway. I mean, you mentioned a little earlier that, okay, so at the moment you have a laser focus on cancer, but you could shift into other therapeutic areas, and also how you envisage that what you're doing could be part of the ecosystem for the big pharma sector. So I'm just sort of thinking, and sort of, have you got a sort of a 5-year plan? Where do you sort of see BioCopy being in, say, for example, 5 years' time, and how do you see it being embedded in the drug discovery, drug development workflows at pharma companies?
Yeah, I mean, you put it right. We've got a plan, not just a vision. And in 5 years, I see BioCopy as the go-to platform for next generation biotherapeutics. We will have multiple drug candidates in clinical trials. We will have strategic partnerships in place with major pharmaceutical companies, and our platform will be recognized as the industry standard for AI-driven drug discovery. More importantly, maybe we will have demonstrated that our approach can consistently deliver safer, more effective treatments to patients faster than ever before. And I reiterate it consistently. So success for us isn't just measured in revenue or partnerships, it's measured in lives saved and suffering reduced. And ultimately, our confidence comes from the patients who need these treatments. When you're working on solutions that could save millions of lives, failure is not an option. It's a motivation to push harder and innovate faster.
Yeah, that's a strong message. I'm thinking actually, this is probably a question I should have actually asked right at the start, because again, there's a huge amount talked about artificial intelligence, and there are many people who are not necessarily convinced and actually sort of think it may be just sort of, some sort of hype. So I just sort of, wondering, Matthias, what's your message to listeners who might still be skeptical about another AI-driven biotech company?
I totally understand the skepticism. We've all heard big promises before. I encourage people to look at our results, not just our projections. We have granted patents, we've published research, we've strategic partnerships in place, and we got recognition from industry publications. So we are not promising magic. We are delivering measurable improvements in speed, efficiency, and safety. And the question isn't whether AI will transform drug discovery. It's whether you will be part of that transformation or left behind by it.
Well, now that is a very strong message to probably conclude our conversation. So in closing, I'd like to thank you, Matthias, for sharing both BioCopy's remarkable plan, I won't call it a vision, and also the achievements you've already achieved today. I mean, clearly the potential to transform cancer treatment through AI and automation, it's genuinely exciting. And I'm sure our listeners are going to be following your progress very closely. And in fact, for those who are interested in learning more about BioCopy, you can visit their website, www.biocopy.com. And remember, if you're working in biotech, pharma, medtech, BioBuzz is here to keep you informed about the innovations that are actually shaping the future of the life sciences. So make sure you subscribe to the podcast to be informed of our future releases. So thanks again, Matthias, for taking the time to speak to me today. And thank everyone for listening to BioBiz Buzz. I'm Mike Ward, and I'm going to be back soon with another fascinating conversation at the cutting edge of biotech. So until then, please keep innovating.